Stanton and the Miami Marlins travel to New York to face the Mets.
Rip right field towards the corner.
The pregame's at 3:30 Eastern, followed by first pitch at 4:30. Saturday on ESPN Radio.
Pardon the interruption, but I'm Mike Wilbon. Tony, German police found a lamb in a brothel and rescued it.
I'm Tony Kornehiser. Rescued it? Lamb can't get his groove on? Really?
I mean, seriously, I've been to Germany a few times, but I don't know what kind of animals roam the streets.
Lambs.
But lamb? Seriously? Lammy?
Yeah. We are poor little lambs who've lost our way. Ba, ba, ba. I think the whipping pooch did that. Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. In today's episode, Clayton Kershaw is frustrated. A sticky Brewer gets a big suspension. And Roger Goodell is going to hear your appeal, Mr. Brady, so deal with it. But we begin today with James Harden's failure on the final play of last night's one-point Rockets loss to Golden State. Harden had a spectacular game overall, 38 points on 13 for 21 shooting, 10 rebounds and 9 assists. But on that final play, while being double-teamed by the Splash Brothers, Harden fumbled the ball and could not get off the potential game-winning shot. Wilbon, how badly should Harden beat himself up over this?
Not at all. They're not in it. They don't have a chance to win these two games in the last few seconds without James Harden. Tony, I know he beat himself up, but James Harden is a case of great offense was defeated by better defense, which is not often the case in the NBA. But Steph Curry stepped out to his right. I mean, I was standing a few feet away watching this. It's an extraordinary sequence. Steph Curry understood that James Harden wanted to go left and he wasn't going to let him. And Harden did a great thing by passing the ball to Dwight, and Dwight did the right thing by getting it right back to him. You can see Klay Thompson lean out the middle toward Dwight Howard, and it was going to give Harden some room. It failed. It didn't work. But let me tell you something, Tony. James Harden, this duel between Curry and Harden is fabulous to watch. And Harden, I think, will get it next time. I think Houston will go home and win Game 3.
He should beat himself up until he was black and blue from it. He lost the game, Mike. He had a great game, statistically. He did everything you could want. But this is James Harden's team. This is James Harden's moment. This is James Harden's shot. Dwight Howard didn't want anything to do with that ball.
He's not supposed to have it. Of course,
it's got to be James Harden. And he was, at the end of it, Mike, he was on his knees looking for his mouthpiece like Mike Tyson against Buster Douglas. I don't want to make it just what have you done for me lately, but that's his moment, Mike. And he failed to even get the shot off, and he didn't pass to anybody else who could have gotten the shot off. I don't know how you can say that it's totally excused. I don't get that.
Tony, I didn't say it was excused. What are you listening to? What I said is it doesn't do a damn bit of good for him to beat himself up. He's got a Game 3 after they took Golden State to the limit in Games 1 and 2. Beating himself up does nothing.
He will.
They are not in this series without James Harden, not close to it. And he already did beat himself up enough. He needs to get on.
They're 0-2, and this was his time. And he knows this in his heart. He's killing himself in his heart because he knows he did not come through. He didn't
get what, the series is over? He's got no more time?
No. They can win 2 at home. Of course they can. It's this game I'm talking about, the previous game, last night's game, that game.
The Warriors aren't the only hot team here in the cities by the Bay. The defending champion Giants have won 8 of 10, with 3 of those wins coming at the expense of the hated Dodgers, including yesterday's takedown of one-time ace Clayton Kershaw. Not only did Madison Bumgarner beat Kershaw for the 3rd time this season, but he became the first pitcher ever to hit a home run off Kershaw. So isn't it possible, after 3 World Series titles, the MVP of both the LCS and World Series, then Bumgarner has simply surpassed Clayton Kershaw?
It's more than possible. He's done this. Since last October, he has done this. In the postseason last year, Bumgarner was spectacular. That was an all-time performance. A 1.03 ERA. He had 4-1 with a save in Game 7, 5 innings in Game 7 on like a day's rest or something like that. And Kershaw in the playoffs was 0-2 with a 7.82 ERA. So at this point, right now, today, and I'm not saying in June or July or August, right now, today, Madison Bumgarner has surpassed Clayton Kershaw. Don't you agree?
Tony, he hasn't just passed him, he's lapped him. Professional sports are about the playoffs, period. It's about the postseason, every one of them. To people want to talk about legacies now. I hate it when people jump to legacies. Legacies and the way you are defined, even while you're an active participant, it's about the playoffs. Kershaw has not gotten it done in the playoffs. And last year, sort of a spectacular flameout, even after going almost entire games and looking brilliant, he didn't get it done. Bumgarner has gotten it done just as spectacularly as Clayton Kershaw has failed. You want to talk about James Harden. James Harden still he's got chapters to write.
Yeah.
I mean, Kershaw came away totally empty, Tony.
Yeah,
so to me.
But it wouldn't surprise me, and I doubt it would surprise you, if Kershaw went 15-2 the rest of the way, got his team into the playoffs, and had another chance and won another Cy Young. What did surprise me was learning that Bumgarner was younger than Kershaw. I didn't realize that. I mean, right now, the stock you would bet is Bumgarner, but Kershaw, with all those Cy Youngs, as a regular season pitcher to this point, is almost incomparable in baseball, Mike. I mean, he's been that great.
Give me the playoffs.
Okay. Milwaukee Brewers reliever Will Smith was tossed out of the Braves game last night because he had a large smear of goop on his arm that would enable him to grip the baseball better. Smith claimed he simply forgot to wipe that stuff off when he entered the game from the bullpen. Baseball did not buy that, and they suspended him 8 games today. But Smith got support from Atlanta's all-star first baseman Freddie Freeman, who said, quote, "Every pitcher does it. As a hitter, you want them to do it so they'll have a better grip so we won't get hit in the head," unquote. Wilbon, is 8 games the right number here?
Tony, I understand how you could give out 8 games, and so that's sort of the small issue here, this specific thing. But, Tony, when you have players speaking to the safety issue of getting a grip on the ball and not hitting people, although he hit a batter, just before he was taking that thrown out of there, I think this is something for the union to take up. I think the players, hitters and pitchers, have to address this with their leadership and say, wait. You executives are going to listen to us on this. Mm-hmm. We don't think it provides a competitive advantage. We think there's a safety issue here, and we'd rather err to that side. And, Tony, I think at some point they're going to have to deal with that issue. The 8 games, it'll get knocked down, right, on appeal. Won't they appeal this and knock it down to 5 or 6?
Well, I don't know about that.
One start plus.
I'm going to deal with the 8 games. 8 games to a reliever is like 30 games to a starter. I mean, a reliever could go 6
every day,
games
yeah.
in 8, so I think it's probably too much. But the rule is clear. You could see that stuff on his arm from the moon. I mean, you're not supposed to use it. Now, if you're saying to me, let's go back and revisit the rule because we want to see, is it like cutting a baseball? Is it like saliva on a baseball? If it's not, if it doesn't provide a competitive advantage, then maybe we want to exempt this junk. But when a guy says, I forgot to wipe it off, that is ridiculous. What are you doing with it on your arm to begin with?
You can see it. I mean, at that point, the opposing manager is obliged to go out there. He looks like a dope.
And he went
and you know what? They come back to bite him, too.
He touched, to get angry at the Braves manager is absurd. You can't walk out there with that.
The Anaheim Ducks reclaimed home ice advantage last night by beating the Blackhawks in Chicago. But an incident from Wednesday is grabbing attention now, Tony. NBC analyst and former coach and player and GM Mike Milbury was asked during the telecast how he would stop Ducks forward and former MVP Corey Perry. Milbury responded, quote, "If I were playing against him, I would want to hurt him in a painful and permanent way," close quote. Ouch. Perry said, quote, "It's not something that's being taken lightly," close quote. Called for an apology, which has not been forthcoming yet. Tony, doesn't Milbury have to walk this back?
I heard this, and it was said matter-of-factly, and to me it was said totally without humor. It was said by a voice of authority given to him because he's put on television as a voice of authority, and he used the words painful and permanent. And I heard this, Mike, as Mike Milbury calling for a guy on an opposing team to do this. And I mean, to me, he has to apologize. If he doesn't apologize, I don't think he's got to go off the broadcast. I think he has to apologize.
No. Look, Tony, and by we, I mean we have all said stuff that we want to take back. And on live TV,
I've had to take it back.
I've apologized.
I've experienced
we've all said stuff. You got to come back and say, I shouldn't have done that.
Right.
So I don't think this is a big deal. It only becomes a big deal if you don't take it back. I personally, because I watch a ton of hockey, and every night during the playoffs particularly, like to listen to Milbury, who's a tough, old-school guy,
Mike,
who's sort of an eye-for-eye guy. And I like that about him.
Really? Because what he said was, by using the word permanently, what he said was, go cripple this guy
put him in
and end his career.
And you don't can't say it.
Well, so shouldn't he apologize?
Yes.
Oh, I thought you were arguing against it somehow.
No, I'm saying all of us have done this. Mike should not look at this as some personal assault on him. We've all done. Anybody with an open mic has had to do this in a fight. You can't say permanent. The word permanent. And by the way, you can think you're being funny, and by we, I mean you.
I didn't think he was being funny.
We can all think we're being, but he probably thought he was being funny.
He didn't smile. Said cripple the guy.
Come on. You can't say cripple.
The NFL has rejected the NFLPA's motion that Commissioner Roger Goodell recuse himself from Tom Brady's appeal of his 4-game Deflategate suspension. NFLPA head DeMaurice Smith argued that because their side wants to call Goodell as a witness in the appeal, he would lose all sense of impartiality if he also heard the appeal. Wilbon, what does this insistence by Goodell mean for Brady's case?
Tony, I don't know what it means for Brady's case. I don't know whether it means he's going to be tougher on Brady to show Brady and the Patriots and Robert Kraft he can't be pushed around, or whether he's going to completely capitulate, which I don't know. I don't even care. What I care about at this point is, can Roger Goodell ever get anything right? Can he get a decision right at all? I mean, what does he get right? How tone deaf is he? Can he not at least, Tony, when he handed off Bountygate to Paul Tagliabue, that was the right move. I understand it's set up now for somebody else to issue the penalty and Goodell to hear the appeal. But it doesn't mean he has to insert himself. When you're all powerful, you can hand this off to someone else. Keep yourself out of it because you never get it right.
Mike, he handed it off to a guy in the next office, in the building, in the next office. This is an NFL suspension, make no mistake. I'm going to go back to something that happened yesterday that really has bothered me. And I know you don't think much of it, but it was an official NFL tweet. It was a picture of Andrew Luck, and it had the letters PSI on it.
Right.
And it was a clear shot at Tom Brady and the Patriots.
You really believe that?
100% I believe it. It was deliberate. There was no coincidence to it whatsoever. It was mean and it was vicious at Brady. And Roger Goodell's the head of the NFL. It's the official NFL tweet. I'm not saying he wrote it, but I'm saying he has to take responsibility for it. He is not impartial in this. The NFL is not impartial in this.
I agree with that,
He's got to hand this off. This is absurd.
Of course he does. And Tony, here's the amazing thing. He can never see it. How come Goodell, until public outrage blows him out of his own office, can he never see what he's supposed to decide before he decides it?
Court. Brady's going to say, I cannot get a fair hearing. Even if he has the right to hear me, he is impartial here. He's partial rather here. He can't do it. He can't do it. Let's take a break. Coming up, does LeBron James even need Kyrie Irving on the floor for the Cavs to win tonight?
And how does Kevin Love feel about the Cavaliers' run without him? Brian Windhorst is going to join us from Hotlanta next.
I'm so used to arguing with you, I thought you were against Milbury apologizing.
No, he's got to apologize. I don't think it's a big deal yet unless he doesn't apologize. Then it becomes a big...
Geico presents Strange Savings Stories. Astronomers detected an interstellar transmission. It stated, Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more. The implications were staggering. Was the cosmos telling us we could all save hundreds on car insurance with Geico? Or did their radar merely pick up a signal from the nearby Rufus and Clyde's morning show? We may never know.
Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
LeBron James and the Cavaliers are just hours from trying to steal a second straight game in Atlanta, and that's where we find our great friend Brian Windhorst. Brian, let's start with this. Kyrie Irving will either play or not be healthy if he does play. Will either not play or not be healthy if he does play. LeBron seems to dramatically elevate role players, so honestly, how much does it really affect the Cavaliers what Irving's status is?
Well, they're not going to be at the top of their game without him, but the Hawks have also suffered a huge loss in DeMar Carroll, and I think they're still reeling from it. And it's going to open up some things, especially I think that they're going to start with Kent Bazemore on LeBron James. He's given up like 3 or 4 inches and 40 or 50 pounds. They may end up going to Paul Millsap. So LeBron has such an advantage at that position that it may be able to overcome the absence of Kyrie Irving. And here's a bit of an inconvenient truth for the Cavs. Without Kevin Love and without Kyrie when he's hobbled, they're a better defensive team. So offensively, they're way down. And LeBron's shooting and efficiency is way down. But the other night, when Irving went out of the game, they got better defensively at the point guard position, and they've been the best team by the numbers in the playoffs defensively, which they weren't even close to in the regular season with Kevin Love. So in certain ways, they're better, but in the big picture, they're not.
Brian, let's go to a guy whose performance and everything else is way up right now, J.R. Smith, who sent out a photo the other day featuring him and Iman Shumpert that was captioned, one man's trash is another man's treasure. And, of course, he's referring to the Knickerbockers getting rid of them. Is this to you more about LeBron's being able to mentor them and just sort of have a 7/24 effect on them, or is this about actually being on the court with LeBron in some strategic revelation?
It's actually no difference whatsoever. It's all about perception. Do you know that J.R. Smith shot at a higher percentage from the field and from three-point range and scored at a higher rate when he was with the Knicks this year than when he's played for the Cavs? If you just watched it, you'd have thought he's been a way better player with the Cavs, but his numbers are actually slightly down. The difference is that he's winning, and he's playing with LeBron, and LeBron is embracing him. And it's all about perception. JR is going to shoot 40% from three-point range. He's going to score at the same rate, no matter probably who he plays for. This is a real case study in the perception power, the PR power of being LeBron James' teammate.
I had no idea with that. That's good.
Let's go to the forgotten man, Kevin Love. What does he feel about this? I mean, can anybody get inside him honestly and sort of get at what he feels about not being part of this apparent trip to the NBA Finals?
If you can figure that out, Michael, the Cavs would like to know. Because this guy's a man of mystery. He's one of the hardest guys to read I've ever covered. He does things like say, I'm absolutely, or he didn't say absolutely, but he say, I want to stay in Cleveland, I plan to stay here, but he seems distant. He hasn't really been around the team as far as I can tell. I haven't seen him at any practices. He did come to one game and sit on the bench, but otherwise he hasn't been around. I don't know if he can't travel, but for somebody who's never experienced this before and could be soaking this in, I would think he'd want to be in the thick of it, and he's just been absent. So I can't get a read on this guy. I have no idea, and I'm not alone. I think the Cavs and the bunch of people in the league feel the same way. They have no idea what Kevin Love's going to do after this season.
Speaking of people that's tough to get a read on or situations, give us a David Blatt update. I mean, just a week ago, people were going nuts at him trying to call a timeout he didn't have and designing a play for LeBron to throw it in instead of catch it and shoot. What's the latest on Blatt? I mean, he couldn't possibly be in trouble on his way, apparently, to the NBA Finals, could he?
Listen, today is a great day for David Blatt. It's his birthday. So allow me to wish David Blatt happy birthday right here and now. And the guy who he owes a present to, though, is referee Scott Foster. I am about 75% sure that Scott Foster, based on the video that I saw David Blatt call timeout, and he gave him a little, no. And Scott Foster bailed him out. But you know what? He didn't get the timeout. It didn't cost him the game. It didn't cost him the series. So you move on. And here's one thing I know about David Blatt. He's taken a lot of bullets this year. He's come out the other side. He's been given nothing but difficult breaks in the postseason. The Cavs are 2-0 after losses in the playoffs. They're 2-0 in elimination games. They're getting the job done. And David Blatt should get at least a modicum of credit for that.
Fabulous, Brian. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, guys.
Let's take one last break, but still to come is Rory McIlroy secretly happy that he missed the cut today.
And how should Michael Sam feel about heading off to play in Canada?
J.R. Smith shot better with the Knicks.
How about that, Tom?
Better?
That's a great nugget from Windhorst.
And 100 tries, I would not have said that.
That's a great nugget.
Yeah.
ESPN Radio. For the action on the court, the diamond, or the gridiron.
Comes alive.
The NBA.
The San Antonio Spurs are the world champions.
Major League Baseball.
San Francisco Giants are the champions of the baseball world.
The new college football playoff.
College football playoff national champions, the Ohio State Buckeyes.
Your home for the best in sports play-by-play.
ESPN Radio.
Happy time, people. Happy 28th birthday, Novak Djokovic. The #1 player in the world will be in Paris on Sunday to begin his quest for the French Open title. The defending champion and 8-time winner, Rafael Nadal, is seeded only 6th as a result of a very bad spring season. But Nadal's record in this tournament is 66-1. Wilbon, who you got?
Tony, I'm tempted to take what I expect to be an angry Nadal, but he's had such a bad spring. I'm going to be sort of gutless here and go with the number one. Go with Djokovic.
Happy anniversary, Dominique Wilkins and Larry Bird. On this day 27 years ago, the two locked up in an epic Game 7 of the Eastern Conference semifinals. Wilkins had 47 points on 19 of 33 shooting. Bird had 34, but 20 in the fourth quarter. You don't even have to ask who won. The Celtics won.
No, Tony, but you know what? As great as this Harden and Curry duel has been through 2 games, couldn't approach the level. Not yet anyway. It's got a long way to go before it gets to Bird and Neek.
A melancholy happy trails to Marcus Haynes. One of the iconic Harlem Globetrotters died today at the age of 89. For all the love and affection shown to players like Meadowlark Lemon, Goose Tatum, and Curly Neal, the original master dribbler and crowd pleaser was Marcus Haynes. In over 4 decades, Haynes played in more than 12,000 games and is largely responsible for the legacy of pure enjoyment that defines the Harlem Globetrotters.
And, Tony, he was such a great player. The Philadelphia Warriors offered him a contract. He would have been the second highest paid player in the NBA in the mid-50s. Might have played with Wilt, but he wanted to start his own barnstorming team, the Harlem Magicians. You know who his point guard was often in those days?
Tell me.
A guy named Ray Robinson, as in Sugar Ray Robinson.
Just one clarification, even though the NFL posted on its website that Roger Goodell would not recuse himself from Tom Brady's appeal, the NFL now says no final decision has been made. And let's go to the big finish quickly.
Let's do it.
Rory McIlroy missed the cut at the European PGA Championship. Big deal?
Nah, on deck is the Irish Open. He's fine. Michael Sam signed to play in the CFL with the Alouettes. How should he feel about that, Tom?
Feel great. He's playing pro football, and like Warren Moon and Joe Theismann, maybe gets an NFL shot.
Yeah.
Despite losing their manager and general manager, the Rays are back in first place atop the AL East. Ow.
Well, Tony, there's no breakout team in the East anyway. It's early, but it's a nice story that they're in first. The Texans and Bills are reportedly the finalists for HBO's Hard Knocks. Which one of those irrelevant teams do you want to see?
Well, I'd like to see J.J. Watt, but I'd rather see Rex Ryan with the Bills. He's the best copy in the world. Are you kidding me? Last one, Indy 500 this weekend. Give us a preview.
Here's my preview. Helio Castroneves. That's who I'm rooting for. After that crash he had during the trials, how can everybody not be rooting for Helio, Tom?
We're out of time. We'll try and do better the next time, and I'm Tony Kornhiser.
I'm Mike Wilbon. Have a great, long holiday weekend, knuckleheads. We are back on Tuesday. Check out the PTI podcast on iTunes.
Mark Rippon, Scott Erickson, shout out. Good to play golf with you.
PTI.